Hello, artists. I needed a place to put things that I painted that are larger than will fit in these boxes that I showed you for a minute. So I found this hutch in my neighbor's trash. And here we shop each other's trash. Anything that I could sell on Craigslist or whatever, I put out on my curb instead for my neighbors to take. So I needed a place that was larger than, and this closes up like this so that it keeps things dust free. And I needed a place that was for bigger stuff than this right here. So here's how I store most of my minis. Is in these slider boxes. You can buy them from BCW Baseball Card Warehouse. That place is great. And I originally got it from Magic Cards, and it works out great for commander decks, these bigger ones. The smaller ones I was hoping would work for regular cards, but you can't put them in sleeves, so that's why I've come up with another use for them. I'm probably going to move to stacking them like sideways like this so that I can put more stuff in them. Right? Those work out really nice. And I've decided to save all my very first stuff that I experimented with painting so that I can see the evolution. So I'm tempted to go back and paint it, but I'm not going to do that. I would rather buy more stuff and paint it than go back and paint these things because I want to see the evolution and what I learned in case I forget something that I learned. Like I showed you in the first opinion video, I looked back at my first stuff that I painted and liked it better than the stuff I was currently painting. Here's some more of those boxes. And here's the master compressor. I just love this thing. Okay, it's got a nice little holder for your airbrush, because once the jar is hanging out that holds the paint, I'll show you those in a minute, because of this curly Q hose, it won't sit down. And I've started painting with iridescent paint. I was so happy with how my little dragonling, my little whelpling turned out that I've decided to do all of my Warhammer figures and both 40K and Age of Sigmar that wear armor with this color shift because I really, really like the effect. And I also saw on another creator's website that they're doing the same thing. So I got these Abier paints, and I'm thinking about doing Sisters of Battle with this right here, black flash they call it. So it shows major color than the minor color. And I got these Vallejo paints, and it kind of shows like a fingernail with the major and the minor color. I really like that feature. Because just the label, which kind of goes from green to blue, is a little bit more hard to tell how it's going to turn out than those other ones. So I kind of like those. This is used for basing, my primers, my stuff to make snow and ice, my metallics, which I'm going to move to teaching kids how to paint. And I have some more metallics, primers. Airbrush paint is behind the Vallejo color shifters. And then my fluorescents, which I haven't mastered yet. I'm working on them. And my speed paints and my metallic Army Painter paints. The metallics have a black cap. And then finally my Citadel paints, which I just love. I've expanded especially the layer paints. I've really gotten great results with painting with the color shift paints and then doing layers over it. Just really looks fabulous. So look at my Whelpling 2 video for that. Okay, metallic paints. I have got these, and I've used maybe about a quarter of them and been pretty happy. You have to dilute them, so using a wet palette all the time has been a really good thing for me. A really big advance, other than like speed paints and shades, and of course airbrush paints, and probably fluorescents just work great in the airbrush right as it is. So one thing that I learned is that I don't even need paints like this for layer. I can just use my Art Deco ones that I'm teaching kids how to use and thin it down with some white and get it like milk. So I taught the kids how to get colors to look like milk other than white, and I've had some great results with that. So it's not the paint, it's the artist, right? Like a lot of things. Dry brushing and highlighting is what I did over the color shift paints, and it's a good idea to dry brush, paint, highlight, dry brush, paint, highlight, build up multiple layers like that, and then you can really get a good effect. Shading. All right, so I'm going to do the color shift paints for Warhammer miniatures with armor. I'm going to use this for my Space Marines. I'm going to use that black flash for the Sisters of Battle. I'm probably going to use something like Mystic Gold for the elf-like guys, Limoneth or whatever they're called, for Age of Sigmar. And then I'm going to do, oh yeah, here it is, Red Goblin. This was all dried up when I got it, so I don't buy from that place anymore because their stuff looked really old. It's like clear liquid on the outside and just a solid mass in the inside, and the shaker is not even free. So I reordered those separately, and I'm probably going to use these for my Iron Goblins, Warcry Age of Sigmar. I am going to use probably some kind of gold for the Stormcast Eternals, or maybe that Mystic Gold. I haven't really decided yet. And then for the things that are more organic, albeit in the case of Night Haunts, dead organic, I'm going to just use primer and shade. How I got really good effects for my very first Age of Sigmar Night Haunts that I painted. I want to fill that out like that. I also did sort of black and then with a green shade over it. And I liked them pretty much for the Stormcast Eternals, and there's a certain faction of them that are dressed in black armor, but I probably won't do any of those anymore. I'm probably going to do them more like the colors that are on the box, but then I'm going to add my own appeal to it by doing the color shift. So the other organic creatures that I'm going to paint with shade instead of color shift is the Tyranids. So they don't wear armor, so I'm not going to use these color shift paints for those. All right. I talked about armored versus organic, miniatures versus art paints. So my recent best thing that I've ever done, my little whelpling, was done with just cheap Arteco paint, and then of course the Green Stuff World color shift paint. So I was really happy with that, and shows that I don't have to take my expensive miniatures paints to teach kids how to do it. So that was a big thing. And then airbrush, I'm going to airbrush absolutely everything I can. I've been very unhappy with anything that's a large surface that I brush out because I can't get rid of the coat inconsistency and the brush marks. So I'm going to be pretty much airbrushing everything, and I'm going to thin it with water so that I don't have to use any chemicals in the airbrush other than water. And that is pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate the views. Here's something I'm working on for adults. I'm going to patch this cover with Green Stuff World, the yellow and blue epoxy that makes green, and then paint over it with the airbrush. And then this little jewelry box that we molded out with acrylic, I am going to prime it white, and then go over it with yellow airbrush paint, and then maybe do some kind of a yellow color shift, like try these out with maybe that yellow flash or something, and see how it looks. So that's pretty much it. I'll make a video on my 3rd edition trees that I'm going to be painting. Thanks, artists.